Hi everyone and welcome back. I'm so happy to be coming on today and talking to you about one of the most crucial and important weeks of this year of 2021 already coming on. We've actually got quite a few weeks in the year of 2021 that are going to have some super potent transits. But I would say that this might very well be the most wild week when it comes to the planets' movements and when it comes to the rarity of combinations of planets. So we are having a very unprecedented stellium in Aquarius this week, and that stellium is going to include on February 12th the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn, all in Aquarius. Okay, that's every single inner planet except for Mars, all the way out to surpassing the middle planets of Jupiter and Saturn all together as well. I mean, you just so rarely ever see anything like this, huge conjunctions like this, where, if you were to look, out with a telescope into space, you would see, 6 bodies right by each other pretty much, and really creating a straight line. So it's pretty crazy to imagine the significance of what that could mean. And in this video, I'm going to dive into some of the symbolism that this might evoke, some of the situations that humanity might be finding itself in, and also I'm just going to sort of talk about thriving as well and adjusting to this very new energy that is so different than what we've had last year. Okay. Do hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I'll be doing updates about this and about other transits in the video. But before I get into it, I want to give a huge thank you to Keen for sponsoring this week's video. I don't do sponsors very often because I try to keep it, really, just focused on this content, but every once in a while when I see a great service and we, think that it's a good, fit, we will do a sponsorship. So let's talk briefly about that. So yes, Keen is offering you a really great deal right now. And I thought it was appropriate because you guys have been emailing me and commenting about when can we get a private reading, when can Sky come and do a reading for me. And I'm not doing readings right now, and I'm probably not going to be doing them for a few months because I am having to focus on some other things in my life. But this was a really good sponsorship opportunity because Keen is a great way to choose a psychic advisor or go through a range of different specialties, whether that's like astrology sessions you want, mediumship sessions you want, tarot sessions. They have so many different categories, and you can find people who have had many reviews and really look through and choose who might be best for you. And today Keen is actually offering you 10-minute sessions at $1.99, and I think you can then go further if you like what you're getting and continue on. But yes, it's such a great deal. I mean, where else can you get that? $1.99 for 10 minutes. And again, you get to choose like who you're working with, right? So you get to really go through and, thoroughly decide, what type of reading do I want? What services do I want? So that's going to be trykeen.com/sky for the referral. And I will link that in the very top portion of the description box below and in the pinned comment below as well. So thank you so much to Keen for sponsoring this video. It's something that really helps creators to continue, and I hope that you guys will check it out. And even just to support this YouTube channel, if you do that service, it's a great way to support the YouTube channel as well. So that is linked below. Anyway, let's move on and get into the heart of this video. So, huge, grand Aquarius Stellium of February 2021. 6 planets. Sun and Moon aren't planets, but we refer to them as planetary bodies in astrology. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. What does it mean? So we are at a precipice. We are at a sort of position, very like Three of Wands energy, where we've come to an edge and we can see a horizon and see a sort of portrait or vision of what is in front of us, though we have not really stepped into that yet. Here during this transit, there's sort of like a universal hand reaching out to us and saying, okay, now it's time. Now you have to maybe start redistributing your energy in some way. Okay, you might have been really, really focused on this one career or this one relationship or this one, part of your life. And now in the true nature of Aquarius, which deals with cementing and solidifying a more eccentric and movement-oriented way. It's the fixation of adaptability. So Aquarius is a fixed sign, but it's the only fixed sign that is a symbolism relating to duality. Most of the mutable signs, Sagittarius, Pisces, Virgo, and Gemini deal with duality. But that is how Aquarius is. It is an outlier. It is different than the rest. So it is a fixed sign that represents duality. So it's about segmenting and cementing the multiplicity of your life into one sphere. What does that mean? I know that's a lot of, lot of jargon coming up there. That means that you get a better idea and more of a controlled stance on the variety in your life. Okay, so variety is coming up with this transit. How many different places am I finding myself energetically every day? How many different motivations, goals, and also things from the past are becoming a part of my everyday? And is that satisfactory to me? We're looking at satisfactory with this transit. Am I satisfied with what I have come to have, to hold? Marriage might be coming up for some people as Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct. So many of us are making life-altering decisions right now, such as marriages, such as divorces or new careers, new programs of study, new business ventures. All of those things are actually quite favorable for us right now. And have been since about December of 2021, though I know that we came from a very worrisome triple conjunction, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto over the entire year of 2020, and we all lived through 2020, so we understand some of the difficulties and newfound strength that came from, going through that. And now here you are with maybe a few new capabilities, maybe with a bit more endurance, with a bit more toughness and stick-with-itness than you had before, which can now be applied to things that you've never maybe been able to hold before. So this is basically, incredible manifestation right at our fingertips. And I think it's important coming into this stellium to ask ourselves, what am I really manifesting, and is that what I want? Now, we can also get very picky. That's something about Saturn and Aquarius is getting really maybe over mental, because again, all the air signs deal with thoughts, okay? Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. They deal with non-physical thoughts. So I'm thinking about doing this, but it's not really a part of my material reality yet. There's a lot of this. There's a lot of conceptualization with this stellium, and to a point that it can really make some people start to be really anxious. So if you're feeling anxious at this time, I would definitely look at, okay, am I ready to make some of these concepts material? Am I ready to follow through on some of the thoughts that I've had? Because I think that this stellium demands us to either follow through or to move on with things to a degree. And I'm feeling that we have a great option this week to do a bit of house cleaning, okay, in a lot of ways. So you can really clean up your approach. The approach is coming up, how we're approaching things that we consider problems in our lives, how we're approaching things that we've not been able to resolve yet. Resolution. Approach to resolution, approach to creative resolutions, okay? This is an important factor to actually not get super traditional with how you're solving problems now. We had all the chances in the world to do the contextual, conventional things last year, to make things really conventional. And now the way that we move forward, I think, or the way that we resolve the trials that might still be lingering, okay, are going to be in more unconventional, creative ways. I talked about in the Mercury retrograde and Aquarius video last week, which I'll link below and in the top right-hand corner, I talked about the theme of unconventional and how it's very much a part of this entire year. Though there is still maybe a bit of a conflict when it comes to, what does that mean to me? What does unconventional mean to me? And how far am I willing to go with that? Okay. Also, it's like so many bodies, planetary bodies being in Aquarius. You know, you have the sun, which is your career and your vitality and your motivation in life, what you're living for. You know, you have the moon, which is your emotional, sort of very feeling centered, ebbing and flowing aspect of you. You've got Mercury, which is your mental, logistic, communicative self. You've got Venus, which of course is love, relationships, passive reception, material well-being. You have Jupiter, which is philosophy, politics, creative capacity and good luck. And then you have Saturn, which is limitations and structure and authority and parental figures, authority figures in general, all coming together under this sphere of the 11th house, unconventional, rebellious, difference creating, grid fortifying energy of Aquarius. So it's kind of like merging many different things, where our, feelings, motivations, communication, philosophies, limitations, relationships, all of these things take on an Aquarian nature. So with that in mind, I would expect for most people that this would result in a huge change in philosophy, personal philosophy, philosophy on relationships. I would also expect that there is a different purview, or there is a different just societal construct as well that definitely comes up with this. And just a totally different way of living. It's almost hard to articulate, and it might not even be that visible. Again, Aquarius, if for example, you had the same stellium happening in a sign like Aries or Scorpio or something, this would be like a very obvious, visceral shift. But with Aquarius, again, it's different. So it comes in sort of sometimes more difficult to identify ways. But I would imagine it has a lot to do with the collective consciousness. Again, that's what Aquarius is all about. I would imagine it has a lot to do with again, that concept of the grid that we were talking about in Mercury and Aquarius video last week. How am I connected to other people? What are connections like in my life? Being detached or dissociated is also an aspect of Aquarius. Which again is part of the sort of catch-22 of it, where on one hand it deals with collectives and it deals with collective consciousness. It then also deals with detachment, especially detachment of emotion. So what you could also see with this stellium is a much more detached perspective on how you're looking at things. We're not maybe seeking emotional motivation at this time. We're not maybe going from a super feeling space with this, although the moon is there, but at the same time, it kind of reestablishes that, okay, we're going to get a lot more neutral with how we're feeling about a lot of things, maybe a lot more numb for some people too. And the decisions become a lot more, what do I want to say? It's not that they become more robotic, but they become more mental, okay, and they become more neurological than they are, for example, like gut instincts or gut decisions or emotionally based. So with that in mind, it's a poor time for an emotional decision. It's a poor time to lose control of emotions or to allow your emotions to create big shifts in your life. So you might already see coming into this transit that emotional falling out or emotional conflicts are already coming to an end, or relationships that are evocative of those may already totally be out of your life or totally be disconnected from you, as it starts to create a stage or a platform in your life for a much more unemotional life, okay? And that's not going to be permanent. That's not going to be forever. And why is it the case that in this time we feel more unemotional? Well, it's because we've had a lot of transits that deal with hyper-emotional fixation. We had Jupiter and Saturn go through Scorpio, okay, close to each other, and then through Sagittarius, which is a very like hyper-emotional, hyper-feeling concentration combination of signs, and now it's offsetting that period of time with a bit more sobriety. So sobriety right now is essential. And embracing the creative, embracing the unconventional without allowing emotional trigger points or emotional decision-making to be the only momentum generator within that. So what does that mean? Just watch out for impulsivity. We concentrated so much last year on impulsivity on this channel and on the Patreon page too. We've talked so much about impulses. We've talked so much about sobriety. We've talked so much about creating a sort of neutral and natural starting point. So starting from sobriety, starting from a wholehearted sort of, what do I want to say? Starting from a holistic perspective versus a very fine focused, pinpointed emotional perspective, so that you have a more holistic result. And so you don't put all of your eggs in one basket, essentially. That's what I've kind of been prepping you all for over the last year, actually, so that this doesn't seem so blunt. So this can actually feel very blunt to a lot of people right now, where you can like have a super blunt conclusion and new beginning. All of a sudden, like you're just not doing this or that anymore, and now you have to change, and it's like really hard for a lot of people actually to cope with how blunt this transition actually can be. But with that in mind, I also definitely encourage more faith, okay? You have to offset it. Again, Aquarius is actually a bit of a faithless sign, because again, it's about sobriety, and sometimes people through faith or through those more like verging on dogmatic principles can at times lose their sobriety. So Aquarius is kind of faithless. It's a lot for, I know that this can mean different things to different people too, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think it's good to actually offset it with a type of faith, so that you have a sort of maybe just a totally different realm in which you are more assured of your own lifeline, I guess, and trusting in something higher than yourself feels to be like one of the only things for some people that is a constant, if they can have that. And through that, it seems that Aquarius also offers a much higher level of faith that is incredible. So it's really not so much that Aquarius is a faithless sign. It's just a type of faith that is, so again, outside of the human condition, like we talk about with Aquarius and Pisces. And then Pisces really becomes like the faith sign, through this portion of Aquarius. So it's all leading up to that, The next thing that I want to talk about is actually a little bit about the human element, okay? I'm afraid that we're not taking into account much of the human element with this stellium. Again, we've left the human condition in Capricorn, so I want to really maybe raise to everyone's attention tendencies towards dehumanization, okay? With AI taking on such a big role, with big social media changes with this Aquarius Stellium, side note, and probably much more focus on it, and maybe it's playing more roles in our life than it ever has. So that will be a part of it. But with that, and with maybe a lot of us just being at home in the beginning of this transit at least, and only maybe being on our devices, or not really having much human contact for many people, I feel that there's a dehumanization. And as we maybe see a lot of people through the screen and like watching videos on YouTube, being on all the social media platforms, it's really easy to not realize that like these are like humans on the other side of all of this. I urge people to remember humanity, okay? And I urge people also to consider what they're saying through social media as well. And would they really stand by it if they were in a huge crowd of people, and were they to step on a platform amongst 5,000 people and say it with a megaphone? Would you do that? Would you say what you say on social media in real life? This disconnect to me feels to be generating a certain amount of chaos that we could be sorry for in years to come. It's important to keep that in mind also. The publicity of what we're doing, Aquarius being the 11th house, the publicity of what we're saying, saying it from the comfort of our own homes on Twitter, not realizing that this is like standing in a crowd of millions of people and stepping up to a platform with a megaphone. You have to understand what you're taking part in, like commenting on this YouTube video is no different than me being here talking through this microphone to all of you. There's no difference. It's all like a partaking in the same type of, universal event. And I think there's a lot of chaos around this, and I'm feeling it. I guess as a channel in this moment, I'm feeling the dehumanization at play in technology, which is a big part of what this Aquarius Stellium deals with, and it's probably going to take that to a new level. I don't see any type of pulling back or any type of, a lessening of that with a huge Aquarius Stellium like this. So the role that social media plays in our lives, okay, the role that media in general plays in our lives, the role that technology and devices and, the grid, as we were talking about in the last video, play in our life, is something that you can actually dehumanize yourself with at this point in time. But again, we have to understand that this is perhaps a part of the human condition in a way too, as we have Aquarius and Pisces as signs, 11 and 12, It doesn't stop at 10. It's not a 10 sign system. So I would imagine that through this, we actually maybe branch into a new phase of evolution. Okay, when I say evolution, I'm not talking like biological, although who knows, but I'm talking more so about like evolution of consciousness and evolution of, how we consider and think, and attention, and how we use our attention as well. All of these things seem to be like undergoing some type of really strong collective evolution. So it's just a good food for thought to think about. And again, it's just how holistic can you be? If you really want to get ahead of the game and move into that sort of like Piscean energy, not that I really recommend that. It's good to be in the present moment, but know that Aquarius is moving us into a more universal, holistic way of living. It's that transition period from Capricorn, which is like very self-focused amongst the world, the individual in the world, and platformed among the world, whereas then Aquarius prepares us to then leave that and become like all, okay, to become more collective. And it's a tough tug of war, especially in those early degrees of Aquarius, which we're going through right now, to really get from Capricorn to Pisces, basically, So getting ahead of the game, you can start to think really holistically, like, okay, so I have this family or this business or this job or whatever you want to look at, whatever aspect of your life you want to look at. How does it feed into a more holistic purview? How does it feed into like what holistically is it? Like we have a bit of an identity crisis maybe with this for some people, especially people who are like really, more private people. Okay. So it's interesting. Public people actually do better with this. So people with a lot of planets above the horizon do well with this, or people who are like public figures, I guess, actually are very empowered by this. It's something to keep in mind too. I wouldn't really look to see that public figures or politicians or celebrities or social media people, I would not anticipate to see any type of like disempowering there, okay? What I really feel is more disempowered is like the private person, okay? The like individual, private, behind closed doors situation is not something to really seek much refuge in right now at all, because because it gives you sort of this false illusion that is not really true right now, and it's like a diluted kind of mentality. At least it's not, I'm not going to call it diluted, but it's like a socially out of context right now to be super privacy oriented or super hidden away. Okay. And what do I mean by this? Basically, I think acting as if everything is public right now is the best way forward. Okay. So people with tendencies towards secrecy, or people with tendencies toward hidden elements or hidden things, thinking of like scorpionic energy, Plutonian energy, but not just that either. But I would try to allow yourself, especially during this early phase of the transit, to start preparing to really clean out, I guess, the hidden illness of your own body. It could be like autoimmune diseases or anything that's like constituting this need to be hidden away. Okay, which was really focused last year with the Capricorn energy, as we saw with like the being at home so much, like because Capricorn is kind of, even though it's 10th house, it's like away. It's a feminine dark sign, so it is more hidden. Okay, Aquarius opens things up. It opens the door. It lets things out, it lets things breathe, it opens all the windows and the sun pours in. It's a very sun oriented, this is the Leo Aquarius axis. There's nothing really to hide with this transit. So if you feel like social anxiety, for example, not wanting to be amongst the public, not wanting to be connected, wanting to be off the grid, like I talked about in the last video, I'm just really trying to bring this up to you right now because there's a time in the beginning of this transit, and even by this stellium, it's hard to really get into this mindset if you're not there already. Kind of open it up, let it breathe. This is who I am. You know, this is what I do. This is my life. This is my territory. This is, I don't know, whatever it is that you're wanting to like go on about. Because you have to understand that there's so many people that are in the same exact boat. And it's like by being open with it, you can connect and collectivize your standing and become much more formidable through a more of a collective type of grid system than through a like secluded, disconnected, you know, private life that has no context to the current way. So again, Aquarius leads us to want to detach and disconnect also. So a lot of us are in a tug of war of like, okay, how do I connect with people? How do I disconnect with people? What relationships do I keep? Which relationships do I, you know, push to the side or even move away from? There is a lot of that in people's minds right now. And I think it's just kind of coping with the transition. And it's just kind of a part of moving through. That's the question with Aquarius. It's a dualistic sign. Keep or move away from, you know, private or public. All of this is kind of not that important in a way too, but I think it's just something that we have to conceptualize with ourselves, and we have to work through these like more, I guess, like reductive concepts of like private, public, to start to just understand that what we're seeking is some type of human connection. To be incarnated during this Aquarius stellium, to me, signifies some lack of connectivity, okay? It's like focusing connection so much. So if there's a huge lack of connectivity in your life, or if you've like had to estrange from people, or if you've had to go to like every single effort just to have like something that you feel is your own and like nobody else's, that phase or chapter might be over, and it's just good to like start to share more as well, and to start to compromise with people, and to start to maybe be okay with differences in opinion. There is a dogmatic jaunt to Aquarius that will punish differences in opinion as well. It's like we've all got to be on the same page. We've all got to be in a collective. We've all got to be on the same idea. And this is not any one idea, okay? This is not any one category that this applies to. This is the holistic grid. Holistic grid. Any aspect of the grid that says my way or the highway is up for like a rejection from the rest of the grid. So you have to like really watch out when getting very demanding or getting very particular about how you or how I consider things need to be, okay? Because it's like just disassociating and disconnecting yourself from collectives. Okay, and the point that I'm going to conclude on for this week and talking about this Aquarius stellium is going to be the positive. Okay, we've talked about some of the things that we have to be a little bit weary with. The positive is like really the ability to create sort of like a paradise point for yourself. That's what it came through to me as. Paradise point was the words that came into my mind. And I feel that there is a certain suffering that ends with this, as again, this is the positive side to getting into the more neutral, objective, logistic energy of Aquarius, as we kind of leave some like hyper emotional, hyper sad, hyper tragic, hyper suffering oriented things behind too. I'm sensing a lot of people now are no longer affected by previous traumas. A lot of people have essentially healed. Isn't that incredible? Some people have just healed and are now stepping into a new present moment, healed. And for maybe the first time in their lives, they're walking onto their path as a healthy person, okay? And with that, I cannot really predict what outcomes you might have, but couldn't they be incredible, you know? With the positive side of automation and positive side of social media and AI, how easy it is to create a passive income situation also. How easy it is to maybe meet that person as there is a defying of previous boundaries. So a soulmate might be a lot easier to meet now with it. And I'm not even saying that you do that online per se, but it's like this also affects who we come into contact with in the physical. Boundaries seem to be defined differently. When I say boundaries, I'm talking about the energetic boundary between us and who we need in our lives. This takes on a different definition. And to me, it becomes thinner. It becomes more possible to meet just who you need to meet instead of all these people that kind of like redirect you into different places, which then momentums you into the place that you need to be. Now it's almost like you can just be like, okay, I need this relationship. There they are. And it's a lot thinner, this boundary, so that people have an easier time meeting the people they need to meet. People have an easier time meeting their needs with this transit as well. I also think there will be a lot of assistance for people. The assistance that you need in life, like I can't do this without that. That comes a lot easier with this Aquarius Stellium. Like I can't get my life together without maybe this therapist, and all of a sudden there's that therapist. Or I can't do this work anymore myself without an assistant. Here's the perfect assistant, and it's perfectly mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial things come up with this transit, where it's so much easier to have that, where like one person is not sacrificing for the other, one person is not gaining more than the other as well. It's a very equalizing energy, okay, neutralizing, equalizing, nullifying energy in a way. But that has benefits too. Like it's for some people who maybe have been taking advantage, it would not feel very beneficial to them. For people who might be getting like way more off the backs of other people, it might be not great for them. But also I think that as things equalize more, they might also have a lot of healing of karma too. So it's people can find much more mutually beneficial things with this energy. Where for example, like somebody who owns a business can employ people in a way that's like really ethical and beneficial now. And it's not like, something horrible. Of course, it's not like these wounds of humanity are going to heal overnight either. Like there are still some super unethical things going on in this world, and that's not just going to change. But I do think that ethics come up too, and that those will probably undergo reform to a degree, hopefully in a good way. It really can go either way with that too. So I'm not going to predict on it. But if you are like, for example, an employer or somebody seeking employment, like when it comes to these like contractual connotations that lead to more prosperity for everyone to some degree, I would urge you to like look into that and see like, okay, are these terms acceptable to me? And if they're not, why not bring it up? Okay. We need perhaps more acceptable terms with this transit for everybody to feel like they're getting what they need. Okay. Rights, terms, all that stuff comes up with Saturn, especially in Aquarius. But anyway, everyone, what a beautiful conversation we've had today. To conclude, paradise, okay? Creating a world that works well in most ways, in most sectors of your life, having enough health, enough prosperity, enough relationship connection, enough friendship, enough family security. Maybe these things aren't perfect, but they start to work all in tandem. So what do you need to do to get there? Are there a few things you need to clean up? Are there a few things you need to work on? So wonderful it is for like a very neutral, objective counselor right now, or therapist, if you want to seek that out, to align yourself in whatever way possible, getting more symmetry with your body, getting more symmetry with your emotions, aligning yourself in some better way, like even having, I don't know, teeth straightened, or working out, or something that helps you to feel, or chiropractic, straightening the spine, something straightening or aligning in the body is very possible also with Saturn and Aquarius and all of this. So keep it in mind, and I've had such a great time talking to you all today. Comment below, let me know how you enjoyed the video. Thank you again to Keen for sponsoring it. That's so helpful. And check my link below, and do try the Keen service. It's super cheap, and you're not only are you getting that reading on Keen with one of their many different counselors to choose from, but you're also supporting the channel vicariously. So it's like two birds with one stone. A good example of this sort of like collective things going on with Aquarius. If you want to support the channel and get yourself a reading, check out that link below. Trykeen.com/sky. And I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm doing all of that, kind of here we are. And I'm on Patreon as well. So if you want to support the channel, that's an option too. Otherwise, just your likes, comments, and subscribes here on YouTube are so wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And happy Aquarius Stellium. Much love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.